Hello everyone, it's Christine here and I'm back for our stitch along, and we are going to do feather stitch Spanish knotted, which creates a lovely border or braid type stitch. Now it looks quite complicated in the book, but I've done some practice with it and I feel like I'll be able to show it to you in a way that you feel you'll be able to do it. So the first thing we need to do is start with 3 parallel lines drawn, and what I've done is then put little interspersed staggered dots. I did the dots down one side and then put the other dots on the opposite side, so they're sort of equal distance between the other dots, thereabouts. So what we're going to do is pop through at the top of this line here, about here, and then we're going to take the needle down slightly higher up here. We're going to we're not going to pull it all the way through, and what we're going to do now is make sure that the thread that is pointing up to the top is on the top of the other thread. So you want a loop with this thread sitting atop the other one, so twisting it around till you get it to that point. Then you're going to bring your needle out over here at this next point, so a bit further down, diagonally down from where you originally brought the thread out, and bring it through that little loop that you've created, and just gently pull it through that loop. And what you should get is this little shape where you've got the thread on the top laying over the thread there. Let me just show you up close what you are aiming for. So you've got your thread coming out of the loop, and then this is the top bit sitting over the lower bit that runs across the back in a little sort of fishy like shape. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your needle over and you're going to take it in about equal across from where this is at the middle, and you're going to take it through that loop that is there, and you'll take it through to the back, so you're on the middle line equal across from where that stitch was. You're going to create yourself a loop again, and again we need to make sure that the thread that is pointing upwards is on the top. So this thread needs to be sitting atop this other thread. So this one's the one that's got to be up at the top. Let me just show you. So that's sitting atop the other thread with a loop there. And then we're going to bring our thread out this little mark that we created down here, and through that loop, and you might just want to hold as you gently pull it through, and again you're going to get another sweet little loop in place there. Then you're going to go back to the center, so you're going to go back in and equal to about there. Going to create yourself a loop. Thread's wanting to twist around. So you're going to create a loop, and again always making sure the thread that's sort of pointing up that way sits atop the other one. You're going to hold your little loop, and then you're going to bring your needle out here, and you're going to pull through, and you're going to get one of those sweet little, and you might just need to position this one so that loop sits out where you want it. So you can just use your needle just to make sure your little braided stitches are sitting where you want them to be. And then you're going to come back equal across from where that is. So I'm sort of looking across from where that point is. That's where you're going to go into the middle and catch that loop there. So you're sticking your needle down into the loop equal sort of across from where the other stitch is. You're going to make yourself a little loop, And then again, you're going to arrange your loop so that this bit that's sitting, that points upwards, is sitting atop the other thread. You're going to hold your little loop in place, and then you're going to bring your needle up on the other side over here through the loop. You're going to hold and just gently pull through. You don't want to pull too tightly. And again, you can see that you've got that beautiful little loop happening. So then you're going to go back to the center and take your thread through. Travis has heard someone out on the bike track outside, so he's come to investigate. The bike track and walking track runs behind the house here where we're staying. And so again, making our little loop with the thread that's pointing upwards on the top. And then you're going to bring your needle out at this point that we've drawn on this side through the loop. And pull it gently through, and again you're getting another nice little loopy bit. Then you're going to come back to the middle, equal sort of to where the stitch on the other side is. So you're kind of going back in and hooking down that loop at the centre, and then getting make sure it's not sort of looping around too much, because you don't want double loops. So again, you're going to get your loop, and you're going to make sure that the piece of thread that's pointing upwards is atop the other one. And you'll hold your loop in place, and then you'll bring your needle out this hole on this side. And you'll pull through to get your next little beautiful loopy bit. And then you'll go back to the centre. Take your needle through. Get your loopy bit. Twist it around so this thread is atop the other thread. And then you're going to bring your needle out on this side. Pull it gently through, holding the other loop sometimes helps just to hold it to make sure it doesn't gather up too much. Oops, that one I might just loosen up a smidge. Okay, and just reposition that back where I wanted it. And then going back down into the centre and creating your next loop. So again, this time it's twisted the way I wanted it, so this bit that's pointing upwards is atop the other thread. And then you can pop out over on this side where you drew your little dot and gently pull through. And then going back to the centre, across from there and catching that middle loop and bringing your needle down through that middle loop. Getting your next loop and twisting it so the thread that points upwards is on top of the other one. And then bringing the needle out through that loop that you're holding in place. And then capturing that loop in place in the centre, taking your needle through, getting your loop. And so this one, the loop at this side, I just need to sort of pull it back where I want it with my needle, position it where I want it. And then, so this loops, I've got the thread that's pointing up atop the other one. And so we can then pop through on this rightmost line. Just hold that in place. we get our next little loopy loop. And I might just straighten out the loop on this side. It's just gone a little bit into the centre. But yeah, the book says you can just use your needle just to position and make sure the braid's sitting where you want it to be. And then coming across and anchoring down at the centre, about there. And again, I might just need to stretch this bit back where I want it to be. Just that stitch has just sort of collapsed down a little bit more than I wanted. Okay, and then we need to just untwist this so we can see which direction it needs to be, which is like that. Hold that in place and then bring our needle through from the back where we marked our little hole. So for me, it definitely helps having these little spots marked on so I know where I'm broadly targeting. If you wanted it really precise, you could definitely measure it. I just marked it by eye, so mine might be slightly bodgy, but does the job for the purpose of demonstrating. Okay, and then with this one, thread is getting twisty, so I think next time round I'll just let the thread untwist on my needle. So that way, always making sure thread that's pointing upwards is atop the other thread when you twist it. Sorry, and I'll make sure I'm staying on camera too, so just popping up through that thread loop, gently pulling through and getting that nice little hook. Now I'm going to just hang my needle upside down and just let it spin around a bit to take the twistiness out, hopefully. And then coming across from there, capturing that loop so that we can create the other loop coming off it. So yeah, I was very intimidated looking at the instructions in the book, and it took me a little while. I didn't find them that intuitive, but this method, I think I'll definitely even be able to replicate it in future. And so then popping up through that hole. So it's a good lesson, never be intimidated by a stitch, just sort of find your own way to make sense of it. So then I'll come across there and take my needle to the back here, and then I will put this loop. Just want to keep getting twisty, this thread, I suppose, because we're doing all these loops, so it's not surprising that it keeps doing that. Okay, so my thread that's pointing upwards at the top, like that. And then we'll just, staying on camera. Trying to stay on camera. And then we'll pop up here, like this. And then back to the centre across from there. Pop down to the back. Keep our loop. Arrange our loop like that. And then pop out. This side. Oops, did I just catch on something? Have I got a notch? Yes, I have a notch. That's why it's not pulling through. Will I be able to take the knot out without creating an issue? Let's just see how we go. Oops. Oh, there we go. Knot is out. Hopefully it hasn't sort of tightened it up too much on this side. Nope, always good here. And then we need to come through and anchor down there. Get our loop where we want it to be and put our next stitch in. So 15 minutes is probably long enough of this. I will continue on to do it all the way down to the bottom, which is the image that you'll see in the thumbnail picture. And yeah, I hope you enjoy creating your own feather stitch Spanish knotted style. And yeah, you can do these even closer together, but this is a good way to at least show you the steps involved in it. And I think it is a very intricate and pretty border stitch. So thanks so much for watching, and tomorrow we will be moving on to fishbone stitch in case you want to get your piece of fabric ready, and we'll be doing 2 different variations of fishbone stitch. So I'll see you tomorrow, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.